Life's secret sauce. I just finished experiencing a revelation, and I'm working on getting this book out of me called Stories My Mama Never Told Me.
Ah, hmm.
Um, it's evolving and it's coming out, and I'm thankful for that. The secret sauce is, as I was writing it and thinking of you all, I was like, teach your children who they are.
Mm.
I realized, well, it's a recognition. I'm sure it's not absolute because there's always so much more to learn. But I realized that when I got married the first time, uh, my father had a little hesitation because he didn't say it. It's so much that adults don't say. And I think we should probably say more, but we are concerned with our children shutting us off or not accepting our input.
Mm.
So these are things I wish someone would have told me. But my father, I get the sense now that my father was, he went along with whatever I wanted to do, but he didn't have the confidence in the man that I was getting married to. The second time I got married, um, he had some assurance. Oh, this one's of good stock. You know, you can tell the approval, right? But the underlining thing that almost it gives me indigestion now is that
Yeah. Keep going. This is getting good.
um, I was being groomed to, even though I wasn't being sold to the king, I was being groomed to be given unto man in order to afford me a good life.
Mm.
So I get this deep sense that my father loved me 1,000%, a good man, and he was my stepfather. And I guess all that he invested in me and how he kept me secure, how he and my mother worked together. I was reading about a virtuous woman last night and I got a whole new perspective on it. My mom, definitely a virtuous woman,
Is that
and that's a
Proverbs
whole
21 or 22?
31.
31? Yeah.
Yeah, but there, I got so much more from it last night.
Hmm.
Um, the way Proverbs 31 has been taught to us is that you grow up, you be of good stock, and then you're worthy to be married to a into another good family of good stock. But the problem of that structure is that it always groomed me to not think beyond the fact of I don't have to give my virtuosity away in
Mm,
order for me to be enough.
mm,
My virtuosity does not have to be validated by someone outside of me. So I'm
mm,
recognizing this pattern of how I have loved. And those that I was betrothed to, I was married to, those knuckleheads didn't have nothing more on life than I did, but yet I entrusted my virtuosity in them, literally, like in them.
mm. Would you
Now,
say
does
that was
that,
an investment you made?
Yeah, because you think you're building a life together with somebody.
Mm,
Time, energy, resources, ingenuity.
that sounds
Helping
familiar to
him.
me.
How so?
Well, that's what I thought I was doing when I got married too. I thought I was building a life together.
good morning, Allison.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Good
Allison.
afternoon. Hi, Sandra.
Good morning, Alison.
Good afternoon, T.
Good morning, Allison.
Good morning, Alice.
Jesse's topic today is life's secret sauce.
Ah,
So I was listening to Cinderella's interpretation of that. And what came to me, for me, as far as life's secret sauce, is self talk.
mm,
What type of self talk do we have, positive or negative? And what's interesting, as with the sauce, you can change it if it's too much one way or the other.
I was triggered in her opening when she said, we don't allow our children, or we don't teach our children vulnerability. Something where their truest expressions. And then we said, like, oh, the structures begin to interpret and drive our realities. So it's the expression of the emotions. So emotions are life's secret sauce.
mm,
They're positive and negative. Aware that there is a sauce, aware that it can be changed, aware that it's being played always.
Could that be because at that approximate age, our emotions are still guarded?
You don't know at what approximate age.
Well, the approximate age when you get married.
Mm.
I think guarded is, for me, is more now than then. It was more open and vulnerability to everything that was potential.
Hmm.
Potential leaves you open to driving up to Chick-fil-A and they say, "What sauce do you want?" You get to pick your sauce or make your own sauce up.
I go to the guarding as early as we pick it up. And that guarding becomes the patterns that's protecting. And it's built inside of a structure, we'll call it society, family, culture, that says this is what you can and can't do. This is what you can and can't be. So I go to more of the wounding where we put the bricks up, or the walls up, and lean on the structures of society rather than what our truth of emotions are. Right? We it's been for a century, here is like, don't be emotional. I mean, that was my structure,
Especially so for men.
Yeah.
Little boys. Not so much in today's, like in the last, maybe the last 20 years.
right?
I agree with that.
Yeah, going into marriage for me was one of the most terrifying things I had ever done. For exactly that reason.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was surrendering something. Not my autonomy, but my something deep in my person. I was surrendering that to a structure.
Do you think maybe it has something to do with, and this could be either entering or leaving a marriage, of making a permanent decision over a temporary emotion?
Hmm.
But do you know it's temporary when you
Well, yeah, I guess, because is it sustainable?
That's a good question.
I was in conversation with somebody yesterday and they talked about a sustainable relationship or a sustainable love in a relationship. Like, you can love somebody, you can adore them, but is it sustainable? Is it built, or the structure of it sustainable?
And that has to do with the ebb and flow that goes between the 2 points. In other words, between the two people, the vibration. So does the vibration even out? In other words, is there a codependence or is there an interdependence? And if you're talking in terms of emotions, is there an equal enough amount of vulnerability and enthusiasm about going forward together in the discovery of life and of what each person is becoming? It's the most difficult thing that we have, most complex. I say difficult, but it's the most complex task that we have ever to accomplish, is a good marriage. There's nothing more complex than that. We think, building big empires is complex, and sure, it is. It's nowhere near as complex as building a good, sustainable marriage. And then for me, I go back to, so if you look at what is sustainable, so what does that mean? And, what are the factors? What are the coordinators? Coordinates, sorry. As Jesse asked me the one day, and I thought, what the fuck is he talking about? And then I thought, okay, let me just go instinctually with it. So maybe just, it might be a nice exercise for us. Sorry, guys. Just go inside and think to yourself, what are the coordinates that you want in yourself to be operating well and to be communicating with each other, to be aligned with each other?
That's way over my pay grade.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
I tell you why I say that, because my own coordinates integrating with someone else's coordinates,
Yeah,
coordinates can shift.
of
But even
course,
before the
but sorry, Sandra, I'm talking
no,
about just in yourself. Let me make that clear. What do you want to have be aligned in yourself? 3 things, not so hard.
So what are those 3 things then?
Self-conscious, unconscious, superconscious.
Oh, okay.
what was the last one?
Superconscious, in other words, your soul,
Okay.
right? If we asked ourselves, am I fully aligned here? And in that, there's a part of you that you never really know, but you stay open to it. And that's the unconscious, right? And you could say you don't really know your soul, but that's all part of what life's journey is about. So quite a bit of being aligned is being okay enough with not knowing. And that's what we practice here every day.
Of course, could change, but because the more aware you become of the superconscious, the more your conscious will change.
Exactly, Lam. Yeah, exactly.
So the alignment will change a little bit over time.
That's right. I mean, you guys might think I get this right all the time. Believe me, I don't. And I certainly have not had it right all in my life. I mean, to the extent that, what I had to cope with in my life, I couldn't balance it. And it impacted on my child in an extremely deep and tearing way. She didn't make it well through the pandemic at all. Is she okay now? Yes. Was she okay before the pandemic? She was skating on thin ice. Pandemic comes along, the ice melts, she falls through.
It's that alignment, right? It's that emotional alignment is the secret sauce. The alignment between the soul's yearning for peace, power, passion, purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The ego thinking it knows what's right, what to do based on the past, based on information it's familiar with, connections, realities that it has made up inside a structure that was made up, that is the only way we've seen it. Work or not, it's the only way we've seen it. And the unconscious is just those ways that say, oh, that's how it works. Those are the patterns that we're just going to put away. We're going to keep going. 99% of the time, we can run it this way based on our experience.
So the secret source is revelation, as in what I've experienced this morning, is the revelation of those patterns that were running so well in the background that now the awakening or acknowledgement of my super consciousness is allowing me to see the contrast between the passion of my current existence and the historical factors that I presumed so many things on, of what I thought was the path and the right way to go, even with my subconscious.
Yep.
And now I get to choose coordinates afresh, knowing even in that it's an evolution, that even that those coordinates can change. But that's freedom.
Yes.
You know, even just awareness that there's a choice is just a huge jump ahead.
It sure is. I agree with that.
We base marriage, well, I'll say I've based marriage on what I thought was the secret sauce was being in love with someone and they being in love with me. But that is, those emotions are so terribly temporary, and and love becomes something else, some more, or undone.
Mm-hmm.
But marriage, as I'm allowing myself to explore more the purpose and the continuity and the goodness of it, is that it's not necessarily based on love. Respect is important.
Very.
Self-respect is important.
The most important.
And what I have perceived to be successful relationships, and you ask what is the secret sauce, they say, this is my best friend.
Mm-hmm. So I was at a party once when I was at in my early 40s, and there were a whole bunch of single parents around because it was actually Kalis's birthday party that my friend arranged when we went back home. So people that I'd known for about 20 years were there. And some were still married and others not. And I wasn't in the greatest place at all in my marriage at that point. So there are all these single parents with kids around the age of between 7 and 9. And I'm watching them. And I'm seeing a couple of them obviously flirting with each other. And they were probably about, when I say a couple of them, there were probably about 4 or 5. There were a lot of people there. And it took place all afternoon into the evening. So there was a lot of time, just to sit and watch. And I promise you, there was a part of me that when I saw what was going on, and I thought to myself, oh my God, even though we're in our 40s, we haven't learned that our hormones will mislead us. And that is something that people really don't see very often. I mean, there were people there that by the time I left 6 weeks later were, they were dating. There was no doubt in my mind about whether they were going to make it or not. So, I've known them over time. And that's a factor which we're not taught about. We're not, if anybody talks about the impact of our hormones on our experiences, you only learn about that when your marriage is in shit and you go back into couples counseling. It's the only way I really became aware of it. And it's a big part of what happens when we get married when we should get married in our 20s. I mean, that's a good time to get married in terms of our physical strength, in terms of, it's good to be having sex with just one person and not a whole multiple bunch of people. Monogamy is a good thing. So I think there's so much about ourselves and our bodies and our minds and just about what we are that we are so unschooled in Western society. I'm sure it's not very different anywhere else in the world at this point.
It's, as you speak it, Allison, it's the difference between the emotions. We're so familiar that we're mad, sad, and joy.
Glad. Yep.
Glad, yeah. Mad, sad, and glad. It's like, so those are, but we're not aware of them. We're not able to recognize them in the moment. And it's the secret sauce is the emotions, but to know that you're eating them is the awareness, or that you are being them, that you're choosing that, you're putting it on your flavor of life in the moment of now. And so our emotional vocabulary can improve with awareness.
Because here's another thing, Jess, for me. So it's that where is that I'll say, where's that happy coming from? Joy is different, but where's that happy coming from? And what does it mean when you have that experience on the left side of your stomach or close to your solar plexus or in your shoulder or in the cracks of your back? Like, is that a sustainable feeling? Can you recognize it as something that's coming from your intuition, or is it coming from your instinct? Who the hell knows that at the age of 20?
Yeah, right. Well, I think we know it at the young age. If we could speak to it then.
Yes.
Mm.
If we could allow, and that's what I heard Sindrell saying, if we could allow our children, right, their authenticity, the emotional expressions.
Absolutely. 100%.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, 100%.
At the party we're talking about, that you're all in your early 40s. Well, imagine being a lot of singles watching a lot of couples being together. The ego will also say, hey, you need to be with somebody.
Oh, yes, Heinz. Totally. That's exactly what was going on at that party.
They were reflecting in others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to read from a book, Breathing Underwater, and it's in the 12 steps. And so it's Alcoholic Anonymous. It's not as associated with it, but it's using the 12 steps. And the first one is, we are all spiritually powerless. However, not just those who are physically addicted to a substance. Alcoholics simply have their powerlessness visible for all to see. The rest of us disguise it in different ways and overcompensate for our hidden and subtle addictions and attachments, especially our addiction to our own way of thinking.
Mm.
So did you say we hide our powerlessness?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what is written in it.
Who
Well,
wrote that?
Richard Rohr.
Or Richard Rohr, yes. What book are you quoting from?
It's called Breathing Underwater, The Companion
Yes,
Journey,
Breathing
Spirituality,
Underwater.
and the 12 Steps. The point, right, is like, oh, we're so attached to our ego, to our self-conscious, to being right, to seeing it the way that it is, and all that is our reality of from our structures. And that, yes, creates the unconscious, the emotions to fight for that.
Mm. Absolutely.
To run away from it. And so here's what he writes about an ego response. The self-conscious, Allison, as you spoke to the alignment of the three, an ego response is always an inadequate or even wrong response to the moment. Always. This is always the wrong response to the moment, yet it is what we always do. So he says it will not deepen or broaden life, love, or inner laughter. It will not deepen or broaden life, love, or inner laughter.
Mm.
As we think of relationships, as we think of ourselves, it's like, to me, that is almost a word that means compassion.
Mm.
Mm.
Compassion to deepen or broaden life, to make it better, to love, or inner laughter, to deepen it, broaden it. So he goes on to say, our ego self is always attached to the mere externals, always attached to what's out there, the externals, since it has no inner substance itself.
Mm. Mm.
The ego only defines itself by its attachments and relusions,
Mm.
revulsions. Is that revulsions? Disgust, frustration with it.
Mm.
So the soul does not attach. So the soul, so then there's the soul, the superconscious, right? The aspect that we spoke about. So the self-conscious and the unconscious is the patterns that are playing in there, the unknowns, and the soul. The soul does not attach, nor does it hate.
Mm. Mm.
It desires and loves and lets go.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
I love Richard Rohr.
Oh God, he is absolutely sublime.
We're all addicted to our ego thinking that we're right.
Mm-hmm. So I go back to, again, for me of late, it's what I watch in myself is, where am I holding on for too long? Where am I avoiding? And where can I really dance? Where can I be in a place that I understand is temporarily available to me, with the hope that maybe by being in that place temporarily, somebody is going to dance with me into the next step. So that's the pull, that's the magnetism to engage. Understanding that engagement, it's there for now and for the growth that needs to take place for whoever's engaged in that activity at that time. The engagement will need to change. And it's okay in my good moments. It's okay because I feel like I have the sun and the wind and a tree at my back. So I have superconscious dancing around with me. And knowing that at some point my ego is going to be involved with that, and I'm going to get knocked off my perch. And then I've got to get up and dust myself off and ask for the support again.
Morning, Mona.
Good morning, Mona.
Good morning. This has been an interesting topic this morning about how to maintain relationships. And I think you're right, Allison. The most important and toughest relationship to maintain is marriage. It takes work all the time.
Mm.
And I think we get caught up in our social roles. Men go to work and come home. They bring home the bread and butter. They don't know what happens at home. And they get stuck in these roles. And they think that they're doing the right thing, and women think that they're doing the right thing. And they are. But it seems like sometimes our parents don't show us how to get it to stick. They get involved with somebody too soon, or they don't know how to communicate because of the way they were raised. And it's hard to find two people that can match up. It's not an easy thing. But with time, our roles have changed with two people having to go to work, and sharing the load is a whole new concept. And if you weren't raised sharing the load, it's really hard. You don't know what happens on both sides of that fence.
And sharing the load is integrated roles. Like men are staying home raising kids more now, or they're part of making their work day function around getting the children to the soccer games or the feeding times. And women are dealing with that great nurturing of the children that requires her to kind of butch up in what is a so-called man's world and still retain her identity of being who she wants to express being. But who do you want to express being when the yolks get all scrambled up? There's a whole shifting of identity, and I think a lot of that is what is giving way to us becoming aware of our three beings of super consciousness, subconsciousness, and consciousness. I think it's really making us be aware of our essences,
Yeah.
because we can't rely on anything of what was and the way we function with it.
I agree with that. There's too many things that change too fast. And for the most part, our world is not headed in the best direction. It seems like if you look at the news and things like that, there's a lot of angst. Nobody is having an awareness that everybody fighting in these wars are just people. They don't want their homes destroyed. But these leaders that we have are like, well, it don't matter. They're going to do what I tell them to do, and I'm going to put them in the line of fire, and the leaders are never in the line of fire. They're never boots on the ground. They're not in the trenches, and they don't see and feel what happens. And they separate themselves. But now, if it were to come to their family, suddenly it would be a little different. But they don't carry that sudden awareness of how it affects them. They don't carry that into other areas about how it affects other people. Because I don't care what side of war you're on, nobody wants to be in it.
Correct.
And in war, I don't think there's a right or a wrong. I think that it's just not a good thing for everybody all the way around, because as we well know, especially learning through family dynamics and family entanglements, that things can really get passed down that don't even belong to us.
Exactly, Mona.
And these wars are not thinking about future generations. They're thinking about the now, and their ego, for the most part, really gets in their way. They get their nose out of joint over the smallest thing. And everybody seems to think that their way is best, and that's not true.
They're trying to correct the past.
And secure the future. You've got to remember that too, Craig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Secure the future because of the experience from the past.
Yeah. What concerns me the most is the demands of the workplace. You know, I don't know anybody with a full-time job that isn't working 60 hours a week.
And when you go to a job, they think they own you just because they pay you to come in and do a service.
Yep. And in my lifetime, that's changed the family dynamic too. When I started elementary school, pretty much everybody's mom was a stay-at-home mom. By the time I graduated, there was only maybe 1 out of 10 that was a stay-at-home mom.
People tend to focus on having all the right things. We have to have the right car, the right house, the right this, the right that. And all that stuff disappears. It never stays. But the memories and the emotions are what stay.
Who was it that said something to this effect of people don't People don't remember what you give them or what you say, but they always remember how you make them feel. I think that was Maya Angelou, wasn't it?
I don't
Yeah,
know,
I
but
think
I've
so.
heard
I
that
think-
too.
Yeah, I think you're right, Allison.
And we, in our society, we pay very little attention to that. Our societal structures pay very little attention to that. But, when we talk about societal structures, I mean, for me, at the base of that is our economic structure.
Yes.
And it's fucked, excuse my language.
True.
Good
In
morning,
our
Pascal.
country,
Good morning.
right?
Good morning, guys.
Morning. I know that where we live at, or where I live at in America, states are starting to raise their minimum wage to try and make it livable for people. The problem with that is companies are going, well, they have to make more money and I can't lose my bottom line, so now I have to charge more. So nobody is winning in that situation. The status quo is the same.
I'll bring it back to Allison's word of sustainable. It's like in a relationship, what is sustainable? How do we structure it to be sustainable?
Well, it can't be based on scarcity. That's a starting point.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the ego has got like 10 extra sensory antennas for whether there's
It
enough
cannot be,
for it or not.
it
Sorry.
cannot be stuck in roles as well.
Correct.
So everything that it knows then won't work.
Not necessarily everything, hey Jesse, but a lot of it.
Mhm. Well, it's the starting position, right? The coordinates of it won't work.
Yeah.
That resources are scarce.
Yeah.
And it's never going to work if that's the premise that it's based on.
But if we align it and we reassure it, then it can help us play very effectively.
Will never be really sustainable when most of the leaders compared to last year's budget. Well, if they don't make as much money as last year, they take it as they've lost money. So they're gonna make more and more and more each year. I only made 100 million this year, and I made 110 last year. I lost 10 million this year. No, you made 100. But that's their way of looking at it.
Mm.
That's it?
Sorry, Pascal, you lost 10 million.
Yeah, guess so. Guess so.
Yeah, suck it up, big guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll suck it up for 10 million, yeah, sure.
And then they excuse it by, oh, we gotta be true to our stockholders.
Yeah, but the structure determines that. I mean, I'll never forget when I learned that stockholders could sue companies because they hadn't earned what they were promised. I mean, I can't actually completely think my brain seized up at that point.
I've really found the conversation around marriage fascinating this morning. And what's coming to me is, the title was Life's Secret Sauce, and we've contributed individual things that resonate with us. And I'm sitting back listening to all this, and I come to realize that each one of our resonations is one of the ingredients that make up that secret sauce. So we have the vulnerability, we have the emotions, we have the content or the type of self-talk, we have sustainability, and we put that all in a bowl, and then we use our alignment and awareness with our three consciousness, and we mix it up. That's what we have so far this morning. And we apply it to, let's say, a marriage, or we apply it to some other aspect in life. And I'm just sitting here going, wow, I thought that my secret sauce was, I suggested like the content or the type of self-talk. But I'm realizing that that's when others talk about other aspects like alignment and awareness, sustainability, emotions, like it's like, oh, I couldn't survive just on self-talk.
We were designed to need other people, though. We were designed for relationship.
Yes, we are. And the ecosystems survive on diversity.
They also survive on relationship as well.
Yes. Which, as Jesse would point out, is structure.
Yeah, the whole earth realm is a relational environment.
Mm-hmm. As is life itself. When I first started getting involved with depth meditation, one of the things that intrigued me, I was introduced to meditation through one of my best friends in my first year at university. And I had a little bit of a clue of what it could be. My mum used to go to yoga when I was very young, and it was only for a few years. And that was because of where we lived geographically. And coming from South Africa, geography there, as in any other place, has a huge impact on population. And so I say that because there was a very big Indian community on the East Coast, and it was more permissible because of being in smaller towns. There was a lot more crossover than what there was, for instance, in Johannesburg, where we had lived before, where the implementation of apartheid there was very, very strict compared to in the smaller towns out in the rural areas. So she had access to going to yoga class, and I used to go with her. But when I got to university, this friend of mine had been meditating for about 4 or 5 years, I think, by that point. And she used to levitate, and I slept in a room next to her. And I know that she did because I could hear her bumping around. And so I thought I'd like to learn to do that, which I never did, by the way. And so she introduced me to meditation. And I struggled a lot in the beginning with it because it was spoken to right from the beginning. Your job in your life is to see to yourself. And for me, that was, it was literally impossible to put myself before before somebody else. I couldn't do it. My brain could not wrap around the importance of what I would call now the integrity of the first point of the structure. I thought that was a terrible thing to do. We don't realize, right? We don't understand that by looking after ourselves properly in our alignment between all those major 3 parts of ourselves, that when we align with superconscious, when we align with consciousness, we are immediately taking care of everybody else. The minute that we do that, our connection is there. And the energy that we manage to have built for ourselves gets shared. And we become, you could say, part of the sun and the wind at somebody else's back.
Wow. So I get these pictures in my head, and I was fine. I was like riding with you guys with all of the conversation. And, with sustainability, like all of these secret sauce ingredients. And some of them, it's like being in that party room. I'm there, but I'm observing the interactions of all these secret sources. But they're like tentacles. And somewhere beyond what I have looked or have allowed myself to be exposed to, they're all like tied together under the water, breathing under the water. And I know I'm here and I'm hearing this and I'm feeling these things and I'm relating, but I feel like some stuff is like out of my grasp to anchor in the reality of it, my everydayness, how it shows up in my reality. And so, Allison, when you were saying about, first of all, did you say depth, DEPTH meditation? Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, okay. Because I heard death meditation.
It's not too different.
Yeah. Right? it's like some things have to die away,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I was like, did she say depth or death? And they came to be those tentacles that tied down lower beneath the water, breathing, that became the same thing. So I kind of like went off on a tangent thinking of that. But in that, you said also your friend levitated, and that's something that you did not experience yourself.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of like, to be able to levitate, like I got like really wide eyed, like, ooh, Mufasa, I would want to do that, to experience that. And what am I carrying? What are my structures to be aware of? To not punish myself, that is going to be better or worse, to allow that to happen, even for my mind to even think about the possibility of going inward, taking care of self so well that I don't carry the burdens of self or others.
Mm.
Yeah, it's when you have no expectation, no attachment.
Correct.
Correct.
And yet you have this incredible investment and engagement.
Yeah, because you're present with that person.
Yeah. And you're present in yourself.
You
Yes.
completely engage because like every time they say something, you're not judging it. Right?
Correct. Yeah, that's a
You
good
have
way of
no
assessing.
attachment, no
Seeking to
expectation.
understand. Excuse me, Pascal.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, not judging it is seeking to understand and sharing so you can be understood, but not requiring it. So I'm going back to when I was expressing about how I was raised to almost be presented to a man to secure me. Versus where the conversation is now of being taught self, awareness of self, self sustainability, where you give and share from the abundance of you and not trade all of you to another to be mentally, physically, and emotionally responsible for the self that is you. I think somewhere I was given the real impression that they say, oh, you think you're God's great gift to the earth? Yes, yes. And then that gift is given to another. And it's just like a total surrendership to another person who doesn't know what the freak to do with themselves, more or less another human being.
So I heard you say share the abundance of you. What if you're not coming from an understanding of what abundance is?
I don't think I was aware of, I don't think I became aware of what abundance was until my grownicity of nowness. And still, it's for flourishing. It's so much room for flourishing. I think whatever we are, we surrender that to others, whether it's scarcity or abundance or rags or riches or mishaps or those bags you get at the surprise bags you get at the store. Every bag is marked $5. You don't know what you're going to get in it. You might be that bag of whatever, but we're packaged and we give ourselves to other people. I'm still finding oases to cross over with adventure to where my self-sustainability is okay. Though I know I'm meant as a human to share with others, I have to be okay as a full individual.
Yeah, and that for me, Sandra, that okay goes back to what I said earlier. When we can practice our alignment, and I think that's basically what depth meditation is about, is the exploration and the practicing. Or you explore by practicing alignment, you explore consciousness. It's one tool. It doesn't have to be the only one. Many people that never practiced any form of meditation have had full enlightenment.
Yeah, it's not just sitting in silence. Right?
Correct.
People reach that, like playing music, doing art, like doing
Yeah.
what you love, really, and not putting yourself in the role.
Yeah.
I read something again, like really profound to me, like the difference between I love drumming versus I'm a drummer.
Yes.
Just to see the contraction of when you say like, oh, I am a drummer, the expectation. Instead, then I love drumming, like the creativity, the imagination, all that comes online. But when I'm a drummer, it's like, well, I have to make money. I have to do that. I have to do that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Same as any roles. Like I'm a hockey player. People are expecting me to play a certain way. and said, then I love playing hockey. That doesn't limit me to anything.
Not only that, when you say I'm a hockey player, you make it sound like work.
Yeah, yeah, it's a task. It's a
And it's not fun. It's just not fun. But when you, so just the two words just change the whole energy of the thing. When you say I love hockey, you feel like that you're enjoying what you do and you're in your zone and you're just there and nothing else kind of exists.
even a role like a father, right? I'm a father versus like I love playing with my child.
Mm.
Both are doing the same task. But when I'm a father, I'm limiting myself. I have to act a certain way. Instead of being spontaneous with him, be present and because I give myself expectation because I'm a father. And if I put myself in a role, then I put my child in a role. And now we're putting ourselves all in boxes.
There's a saying, Pascal, anybody can be a father. Not everybody can be a dad. And when you're enjoying loving your child and enjoying him, you're being a dad. And I think that carries a much more loving message to it than just being a father.
That might be why a child, like his first word are not father, but dad.
Dad, 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 dad. Yeah.
Well, right now it's like its first word is Aman, which is grandma, because
Oh.
he was with his grandma for like 5 months. And then like my wife says, "Where's Amani?" And then you point the picture. We have it on the little mirror. Yeah, so cute.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow so fast.
Oh, 21 pounds. Yeah, he grows. Yeah.
There's that refrain that I love so much from it's a whole kind of series of questions and answers, and it's written by Khalil Gibran. It's called The Prophet. I'm sure some of you know it. And he says in there something like this: our children do not belong to us. They come through.
Yeah, we do only get them for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
We just borrow them.
Mona.
Oh,
Well, thank you all for working the life's secret sauce.
Thank you for bringing it, Jesse.
which may be compassion, which could be compassion, which is to better, to broaden, to deepen life, love. And inner peace. So with that, as we close out 2023, not yet anyway, but close.
Close. Yeah, we're almost there.
You all have a great day. Thank you.
all have
Thank
a
you
good
so
day.
much,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you guys.
I'll
Thank
not be
you.
here tomorrow.
Have a wonderful day.
Blessed be.
For a great
Well,
day.
enjoy,
Thank you, everyone.
enjoy it, Heinz.
Hey, love and hugs, everybody.
Bye all.
See you in the new year.
New Year. Thanks, Heinz.
Mhm.
Happy New Year to those that are having it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You too, Mona.